him 28 days later to life, back over 20 years ago, and he's back in the franchise, the Academy Award winner himself, director and executive producer, Mr. Danny Boyle.
Hello.
We will also be joined by Isla herself, the Emmy and Tony Award winner, Miss Jodie Comer. And finally, our leading man himself, the Golden Globe winner, Mr. Aaron Taylor Johnson. Alright guys, well, welcome to New York City. Yeah, wow, amazing. Thanks for having us. We are kicking off a return to the 28th insert time frame later series. It's a return that people have waited 18 years since 28 weeks, 23 years since the original 28 days. Mr. Boyle, to you first, why was now the right time to get to 28 years later?
Have they redone this theatre?
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Because I used to come here. I have been here many times. This is amazing. I've not been here since it's been done up. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. Anyway, it was, well, we kind of did when we did the original film, it was, when you make films, it doesn't matter whether they're successful or not, they all fade gradually, as they should. They take their place in people's memories or not, people forget them or just remember them with affection or whatever. But some of them occasionally stick. And they're kind of like the first one, it just seemed to resonate with people still. And people used to put on screenings and they'd ask me to go to Q&As a bit. And I'd turn up at the Q&A and people would be kind of like, be really intense. Watching the film, and so Alex and I began talking about, should we do something additional to it? Should we add something to it? And we did do an original idea, which was sort of what you'd expect, really. It was like a Weaponize the Virus type sequel, which is sort of what you sort of think, like an agency or a government or a military or something gets the virus and weaponizes it, and that kind of story. And neither of us really kind of went for it, really. And then he started talking about this much bigger idea about a bigger story that was spread over 3 films ultimately, but each film would stand independently, but there'd be a bigger tale to tell, and it would be based in a family, and that these two would be the origin of the family. So it's independent. So it inherits stuff from the first film. It's still the same apocalypse 28 years ago as it was for Cillian Murphy in the first film and Naomi Harris, but this is 28 years later. And we don't know what's happened to them, I'm not allowed to tell you, but these two are more than worthy stand-ins.
Yeah, so before we get into Jamie and Isla, I wanted to ask you both, Jodie and Aaron, your relationship with the 28 Later franchise. What was your introduction to these movies?
I mean, I feel like I was quite relatively young when it originally came out, so I don't remember exactly where I was when I saw it, but I always remember how it made me feel. For something to be so original and so heightened and have this element of terror and fear, but ultimately be about human connection and really character focused and incredibly intimate at times, like that really struck me, to see our kind of society and London like visually in that way. I'd never seen that before, and yeah, I mean, to work with Danny and Alex was the most incredible opportunity. So yeah, I always remember how it made me feel. I felt like I'd never seen anything like it before.
Yeah, I had the same reaction. I remember, I mean, at the time it was very iconic filmmaking. Cillian walking through the streets of London was such a visual, had such a visual impact on you. I was probably about 11 or 12 at the time that came out, so, but which was kind of interesting to bring that into this movie because both Isla and Jamie were teenagers at the time that this event happened. So it's kind of beautiful to be able to kind of have forms of the adult self. So we've got carrying that sort of trauma into this. It was so interesting to have that film.
Yeah, both Jamie and Isla, most of their lives they've known as the rage virus world. Obviously, Isla, sticking with you, Jody, she's sick in this movie. We don't know why, but she's bedridden, and she's not seemingly getting any better. But there was a time at some point in the past 28 years where she had happiness, because Spike was only 12 years old. Spike was born in the middle of this world. What can you tell me about kind of filling in that backstory for Isla? Has it always been doom and gloom, or was there a sliver of hope in this post-apocalyptic world at one point?
Oh my god, I think there was so much hope, and I think as you get to know her as the film progresses, you really get to see her true essence, and the relationship that she has with Spike is really quite beautiful and has its uniqueness. We had like 2 weeks rehearsals before we started, which was amazing because me and Aaron got in a room with Alfie Williams, who plays Spike, who's incredible, and we got to kind of go through every scene and plot it out. And what I kind of felt about Isla was that I felt like she kind of maybe had a relationship with the island beforehand, like maybe it was her dad had taken her over there.
It's in the name.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's part of her. So I felt like she was kind of actually very familiar and at home in that place, but then now because of the condition she's in, she kind of actually very really goes outside and is, you know, very much kind of insular. But yeah, that was what we kind of thought.
And Aaron, from what we've seen from Jamie so far, I think it's fair to call him pretty morally gray. He's got that moment with Spike when he's telling him just, you know, kill it, the one that's hanging upside down, and he wants it to become that hardened man in this post-apocalyptic world. You're no stranger to these morally gray characters. I think of Craven, I think of Tangerine from Bullet Train. What attracts you to these characters with, you know, they're not just on the surface level, black and white, they got layers?
Yeah, well, I think I'm always drawn to the more complex character, but I think, you know, he is a product, Jamie is a product of this new world, right? You know, he's had to adapt, change, and survive, and I think, so it's an interesting one, the moral grey area you talk about is sort of actually what's kept them alive for so long. So it's a system that the community have come together and figured out that really works for them, and now he's trying to install that in his child, his son, and teach him the way of life to continue this new way of life. And so, you know, it's interesting because it's the purity of that child that is coming into the world with curiosity and innocence, and like I said, never knew anything different. But we, as parents, are carrying the trauma of our childhood and projecting that onto him. So it's such a beautiful journey beyond what you guys have seen. That, but it comes with complexities, and I love that because it was so human to me, and there was flaws that come with that character specifically, and so yeah.
The art is so good, and that's all I can say right now. Danny, I want to talk about how you brought this film to life, because the original 28 Days Later, over 20 years ago, it was kind of revolutionary when it came to cameras. We got to use the Canon XL1, one of the first feature films in Hollywood to use a camera like that. Obviously, it influenced the next couple decades of cinema. This time around, get this, guys, iPhone Pro 15 Max. We shot a lot of this movie on iPhone. Can you talk to me about how that was able to get put together?
Well, there's lots of cameras used in it, but yeah, we use the iPhone a lot in it as well. But it's shot in a widescreen format, so because the phones and cameras generally, the sophistication of them now is so much greater than it was before, that you can take these huge risks with it. And we shoot this film in what's called a 276 format, which is a very widescreen format. Because we wanted you to see the spread of nature in this world, and these characters isolated within it, because it gives you a great sense of isolation and space, and then isolation. And then we used you saw some glimpses of a kind of technique in it that there's a lot more of in the rest of the film that you'll see. And there's some pictures out showing all these iPhones lined up in like 20 iPhones in a.
It's like a belt almost, right?
Yeah. And there are a couple of shots that use that later that are really, I don't normally say this, but they're really cool. And they're very violent, so they're not allowed on YouTube or anything like that, so you will only see them in the cinema, so you'll have to come back to the cinema to see them later. But it was a wonderful, because like you said, we use these other cameras on. It was wonderful to try and bring a technique to the filming, and that's one of the wonderful things about apocalypse movies. Is you've got that, it gives you that freedom, because the kind of all bets are off, really. They're just like, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to survive? How is the virus going to survive? Is that going to change? Because it won't just die, like the authorities think, oh, we'll just let it go. It mutates and changes for it to survive. How do these people survive? How does their son survive when he's, well, I shouldn't give anything away, but what happens to him when he gets out there? Those are the questions that it's asked. So it's wonderful to be able to reflect that in as fresh a way as possible.
Yeah, you mentioned how the real world would react to something like this. People think we'll just go away. We had a global pandemic. We went through a time of isolation where we didn't know when it was going to end. How did you pull any experiences from what you guys went through in COVID, over 2020, 2021, to kind of insert into this performance? What that isolation feels like. Aaron, you can start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it informs so much. I think I'm a father. I have children of my own. My youngest is 13, same age as Alfie was when we made this movie. I know what it's like to protect your family and also not understand what was happening around us, and it was you have to adapt and change, and it was very heightened sort of time. So there was so much that, and I thought that was really interesting when I was reading this, that an audience is going to understand just that sort of journey through into, I always think what's pre-pandemic and what's post-pandemic. I sort of remember things before and after. And I'm sure there's a lot of children that were born, post-pandemic, and that's sort of like, that's our sort of parents. But yeah, drew upon a lot of those sort of scenarios, and felt like, the characters that we were building in this community, communities that were sort of breaking up and things like that. So there was a lot that kind of you drew upon, and I think we do that naturally. We try to find characters. So.
I guess as well how much you in that time valued and appreciated nature. That's something that I realised when I watched the movie was like, you have so many amazing shots in this film that like the nature carries on, and she strives without us, and there's clips where you see it's like an Eden, and she's thriving, and it's that was quite beautiful and quite a revelation to see actually how you depicted that, because it's so true. Like, she doesn't really need us for much, but we rely on her for so much. So that was something that really struck me as well.
Yeah, Mr. Boyle, the way you use the sky in this movie, I can't say much. It's one of my favorite scenes, but all I'll say is the sky.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful, remarkable. We got to wrap with this final question. And again, there's so much I want to talk about this movie. We'll have to have a conversation a later time once we talk about it in full. We've seen 28 minutes. We've got about an hour and a half to go. For audiences, we'll check this out in full on June 20th. What can you tease, if anything else?
Oh my God. It doesn't go where you think it's going to go. That's really important, and that was really important for us as filmmakers. I think for all of us, it's what attracted this caliber of actor to it, and what, like Alex and I were determined to do, was to try and surprise people. And that's why it's like Sony won't show the whole film yet, because they want it to be revealed as late as possible for the pleasure of the storytelling. And it is really interesting, the storytelling element of it. It isn't what you think. The military do turn up, but again, it's not at all what you think. What happens with the military? They don't weaponize the virus. That doesn't happen. I'd love you to come and see the whole thing. It's we made it for you, especially for the fans, because it's the fans that sustain it. People who write to you, and you see them outside screenings of other things, and they ask you, is there any other news on the sequel to 28 Days Later and stuff like that. And it really matters in the end. So thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy it.
Guys, it's so good. It's so good.
I will say, before I turn it over to Jody and Aaron, this film's already won awards. 3 Golden Trailer Awards for the trailer that debuted in December. It was the #1 trending video on YouTube, 10 million views. 48 hours and already won 3 Golden Trailer Awards. That's
Oh, wow.
So, Jody and Aaron, what can you guys see, if anything at all?
I don't want to get in trouble.
Maybe pack a tissue, I don't know.
Aaron, I can't say much about Jamie, so that's why I turned it over to you.
No, I'm gonna leave it with Danny. What he like, I think he is the best. I think that's fair.
There's a guy in it. There's a guy in it. So if these guys aren't enough, there's a guy in it at the end called Jack O'Connell. I don't know if you saw Sin. So he's the chief vampire in Sinners. And Jack kind of is right at the end.
He's in the film.
Right at the film. So that is, that's a treat on this story.
There are characters we've yet
Is it 92 or 96?
obviously very funny characters on the poster.
Just tell
Yeah, and I wanted to apologise as well on behalf of you if you were Teletubbies fans. When you grow up, because of the way we treat them, it's like, and they come back anyway. There's more Teletubbies to be had.
There's a lot more to come with this film. Anyways, guys, that's all the time we have for us. Guys, give it up for the cast. And really quick, be sure to stick around because right now we're going to screen the original 28 Days Later. First time in theaters in years. Please enjoy the original 28 Days Later. Thank you guys so much.
Jody.
Yeah, good.
It's good. It's good. Very surprising. Thank you. Oh my god, you made my hand shake.
No, man. Yeah, sure.
Jody, please. Yeah. Sorry about that. No worries.